What's up, boys and girls? Welcome to another episode of Walk on Wisdom, where I, Michael Chandler, being an expert at absolutely nothing, but I know a little bit about a lot of things, been around the world a couple times, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of life lessons, a lot of wisdom from this walk on. I try to answer your questions that are sent into podcast@michaelchandler.com. The response continues to amaze me. Y'all are so awesome. And thank you guys so much for trusting me with these questions that you guys are sending in. Thank you so much for trusting me with your struggles, your trials, the things you're going through, the things that you want advice on, the things you want a little bit of wisdom injected into. And like I said, these answers might not always be perfect for the perfect person who is asking them, but you, the listener, can learn and glean other information from other people's questions, because we are just a bunch of human beings meandering around this world trying to figure out what the heck is going on with life. We all got a lot of the same struggles. We all got a lot of the very similar things that we're going through. And there are a lot of overarching themes in your struggles, my struggles, the things that we all are trying to become better at, more proficient at, and try to live the best life that we possibly can to make ourselves happier, healthier, and harder to kill. So thank you all for being on this journey with me. And let's dive right in. First question comes from David. Hey, Mike, I've been a fan of yours as a fighter for a while now, but not until recently did I dive into how wise and inspiring you truly are outside of the cage. I too am a fighter, just started over a year ago. I have such a passion for fighting, and it has pulled me out of a really dark time in my life. However, the start of my fighting career has been with 2 losses. How do I battle this feeling that I am not doing what I should be? How can I instill my self-belief while only having felt the losing side of the sport and not the winning? Thank you for inspiring me and so many others, Mike. David, it's a good question. Whether this is mixed martial arts, whether this is any vocation, whether this is any other sport, whether this is any endeavor that we go down, we will most assuredly suffer loss. We will most assuredly suffer setbacks. Nobody is going to be perfect. Nobody is going to get it right the first time. But in a sport like mixed martial arts, where records are very important, David, I would say, I think you need to take a break for a second. Starting your career with 2 losses, doesn't say if they're amateur or pro. You don't want those losses on your record. You don't want to build up a lot of losses on your record. So you've got more time. Doesn't say how old you are, David, but you've probably got more time than you think you do. I didn't start my mixed martial arts career until I was 22 years old, now 37. So I've been 14, 15 years in the sport now. And obviously I've suffered losses, but my advice to you would be, if you're starting the sport, it says you just started started a little over a year ago. So if you're just starting the sport, taking those fights after just 1 year of training is, I would say, frowned upon. I think it'd be ill-advised. I think get another full year of training under your belt before your next opportunity to go out there and shine. Because, like you said, you don't want to just keep taking loss after loss after loss. I love resilience. I love stick-to-itiveness. I love overcoming the odds. I love coming back from losses. I love coming back from setbacks, but setting yourself up with very little training just to go into fights, just to have losses, eventually you're going to get used to losing, or you're going to get used to the feeling of losing. Go out there and win in the gym first. Go out there and lose in the gym and then learn from it. Go out there when wins and losses aren't on the line in an actual fight, and just go in your sparring sessions, your training sessions, and get better, acquire skills, stack on new layers of abilities, so that the next time that you step inside of the cage, you can give yourself a better chance to be successful. Because like I said, I love stick-to-itiveness. I love the resilience of coming back from losses. But when you're not ready, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're just going to be the guy who has a slimmer chance at winning than your opponent. But the answer to your question, how can I instill self-belief while only having felt loss, or only having felt the losing side of the sport and not the winning? Mindset, visualizing it, and then working it physically in the gym. Going into the gym, treating every sparring session, training session like it is preparing you for a fight, adding skills, adding layers of abilities, and then also visualizing success, visualizing yourself in your sparring sessions, moving fast, moving eloquently, but also moving violently, being successful, also being in bad positions and overcoming the odds, overcoming the adversity, visualizing yourself being successful, visualize yourself being better than you thought you could be, outperforming your view of what your abilities are. But David, back to my original first knee-jerk reaction, take a little bit of time off and don't compete. Or at least don't compete in mixed martial arts fights where there's wins and losses on the line. It's not about just getting the reps. It's about getting the reps at the right time. They might be the right reps, AKA fights. They might be the right thing that you want to do, but it might be the wrong time. If you just started training, and this goes out to anybody, not just mixed martial artists, not just athletes, but anybody in any vocation, make sure you've put in the time and you've put in enough effort. You've put in enough dress rehearsals, dry runs before you actually go do the right thing, before you actually go out there and compete, before you actually go out there and lay it on the line. It's not that people don't do the right things, David. It's that people don't do the right things for long enough. I don't think you've trained for long enough in order to go out there and be as successful as you want to be. And that doesn't just go to David here in mixed martial arts talking about fighting. This goes to anybody. It's not that people don't do the right things. It's that they don't do the right things for long enough. But David, thank you for sending in your question. Thank you for opening it up to us. And just because you have 2 losses doesn't mean you're a loser. Just because you don't have any wins doesn't mean you ain't a winner. And that goes to everybody listening. Next one comes from Mason. Hey, Michael, huge fan. I'm Mason, an 18-year-old from New Zealand, and I deal with anxiety every day and have been on suicide watch in the past due to the fact that I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But I have recently come to the conclusion that I want to have an MMA fight, and that's my dream. What do you recommend is a good way to get started, and how often should I train per week to prepare myself for this dream? I have no experience in MMA, but I watch the UFC every weekend. Thanks, champ. Looking forward to watching you on Tough. Well, Mason, thank you for sending in your question all the way from New Zealand. You're 18 years old. You've gone through a lot, it sounds like, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. And it all stems from, like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I think at 18 years old, did any of us really know what we wanted to do with our life? And I don't say that to sound insensitive. Because sometimes we can look at things so closely that we can't pull ourselves out and see it from a 30,000 foot view. And we get caught up in, okay, I'm 18 years old. I'm a man now, which no, you're not. I'm a grown man now. No, you're not. I'm an adult now. Well, no, you're not. Just because you're 18 doesn't mean that you are supposed to have this whole thing figured out. Doesn't mean that you are a grown man who needs to have everything figured out what he's going to do with his life. And I don't say that to come at you or anybody who is a young person now in that 16 to 21 range. You still got a lot of time. Shoot, the 25 range, you still got a lot of time. You got your whole life ahead of you. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. You're not supposed to know what every single next season is supposed to be. You're not supposed to know who you're going to marry, what job you're going to have for the rest of your life, how many kids you're going to have, what kind of house you're going to live in, white picket fence, or out in the country or in the city or a condo. You're not supposed to have all this stuff figured out. And it's funny too. I talked to and actually my wife said this first, and I now use it and stole it from her. Our son Hap puts a lot of pressure on himself to do certain things, or he worries about certain things. And we tell him, buddy, it's not your job to be perfect. It's not your job to have this figured out. It's not your job to do things right all the time. It's your job to be a kid. It's your job to live life with joy and peace and hard work and discipline. And there's a lot of things that coincide with anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, all these different things. You got to be able to trust yourself. But going back to my son, Hap, just be a kid, man. It's your only job. Just be a kid. You're going to figure this thing out. We're going to figure this out together. I am here for you. Mommy and daddy got you. We will figure out the hard stuff. You just have fun with the easy stuff. And I liken that to Mason or anybody else who's listening right now who is a young person, because we get a lot of these questions here on the Walk on Wisdom podcast. Hey, Michael, I don't have direction. Hey, Michael, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Hey, Michael, I have no idea when these bad times are going to end and when I'm going to turn the corner into good times. Well, it starts with, do you trust yourself? It starts with, are you winning the little battles every single day? It starts with, what can you do every single day to take one step closer to becoming the Mason, the man that you want to be? And as I said, you're only 18 years old. The Mason at 25, I'm hoping, is smiling, shaking his head with a little smirk on his face, thinking, man, what was I thinking back then, man? Why did I put so much pressure on myself? I didn't think any of this was going to work out. And here I am standing 10 toes down, and it all worked out. Things are working out. And then you get to 30, and you get to 40, and you look back and say, man, oh man, still don't have it all figured out yet. But I sure am doing a pretty darn good job. And one misconception, and I'll get to the fight thing here in a second, Mason, but one big misconception for Mason and everybody else out there is when we were younger, and we were actually talking to my wife and my brother Eric, we're hanging out in the living room last night after the boys went to bed, and we were kind of just talking about parenthood, adulthood, getting married, all these different things. And so, isn't it funny that back when we were teenagers or, middle schoolers, high schoolers, we thought our parents had all this stuff figured out? Isn't it funny how I always thought that they just knew what they were doing? And the older you get, and even me, I liken myself a man who, I try to do things right. I try to be a good person. I try to be an upstanding citizen. I try to be a good father, a good husband, train extremely hard, bring you guys value. I try to doing all the things that make me feel good and make me feel fulfilled, but I still am just trying to figure it out. Every single day is a constant quest of trying to just figure it out. And as soon as you take that pressure off of yourself, realizing that you may never have it figured out, and maybe I would even venture to say, quote unquote, having it figured out might leave you open to blind spots, might lead you open to a life that is less than. Because life is just a big old dance that we're trying to figure out. It's a series of trials and tribulations, ups and downs. It's a series of decisions and choices. It's a series of relationships. It's a series of tears and extreme joy and happiness and everything in between. You're just trying to figure it out. So Mason, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Now, when it comes to the mixed martial arts fight, biggest thing, you're out there in New Zealand. I know one of the, City Kickboxing, I believe, is out there in New Zealand. So I don't know if you're anywhere close to there. I think that's Auckland. That's obviously a phenomenal gym. And with the rise of Israel Adesanya, the Dan Hookers, the Alex Volkanovskis, all these New Zealand and Australia MMA has exploded over the last couple of years. Robert Whitaker. So I would imagine there's a lot more MMA gyms popping up there. Rule number one, get into a good gym. Get into the best gym you possibly can. And not just the gym that has the best fighters that are going to be the quote unquote best training partners, most challenging training partners. You're just starting, Mason. So make sure you just crawl, then walk, then run. Don't show up and expect to be a world beater the first day. Take baby steps, take pride in the delayed gratification, brick by boring brick of building yourself into the person that you need to be, the fighter, the happy, the healthy, the hard to kill fighter that you need to be. Therefore, you can step inside of the cage for the first time and compete in your first MMA fight. You said you have no experience in MMA, but you watch UFC every single weekend. So if you watch UFC every single weekend, you should take solace in and comfort in knowing that every single one of us had to start somewhere. Every single one of us had to be that brand new kid, that brand new bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid walking into a gym. And we had to take our licks. We had to take our bumps and our bruises. We had to take our losses. And we had to continue to become who we are today, the guys and the gals that you watch every single weekend competing in the UFC and everywhere around the world. So baby steps, and that's not just a Mason here talking about a mixed martial arts journey. That's any of you guys out there trying to pursue anything. Don't come in day one and expect and put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect. Just be successful. Just getting to the gym that first day is a success. It's a win. It's a small victory. Just finishing a practice, even if you got absolutely demolished, that's a success. That's a small victory. Week 1, you get crushed. Week 2, you get demolished. Week 3, you get brutalized. Week 4, all of a sudden you have your first glimmer of hope. You have your first glimmer of a little bit of talent, a little bit of a glimmer of, oh, wow, I am getting better at this. Subconsciously, physically, emotionally, spiritually, I'm getting better at this. So that's how I would get started. Find the best gym you possibly can. And then as far as how many times a week should you train, what's wrong with 7 days a week? That's what I say. I don't train 7 days a week. I train 6 days a week. But what's wrong with getting in the gym every single day, at least Monday through Friday, and maybe on a Saturday when you can? Build up your body, strength and conditioning. When you start training as well, and this goes for anybody out there doing anything physical whatsoever, supplementation, vitamins, minerals, nutrients. I'm actually about to launch my own little vitamin packs with OIM Performance. I'm going to have a link coming out to all you guys where you guys can get my exact stack. I call it a stack every single day with all of my multivitamins, my fish oils, my vitamin D, and there's like 15 or 20 other things that I would be taking every day. Protein shakes, creatine, BCAAs, all of these things to build up your body because you are going to be breaking down your body, Mason, as you start this journey. So thanks for the question all the way from New Zealand, man. We are worldwide here, Walk on Wisdom, and gosh darn, it is humbling. Next question comes from Brian. Hi, Michael. I really appreciate the positivity you share on your podcast and your interviews. I've gotten a couple of good nuggets of wisdom when you've talked about raising your sons. For example, teaching them that they can fall down but get back up, and they can get ouchies but that every ouchie heals. I wanted to ask you for some parenting advice. When I became a father, it lit a fire under my butt to be better at everything, to do better at my career and make more money, to be a good dad and to be a better husband. The area where I really have gotten better is the self-compassion because I am hard on myself when I fall short. My daughter is almost 4, and I want to give her a happy childhood while also helping her build the skills that will make her a happy and successful adult. She's super smart and could probably have the potential to do anything that she wants in terms of a future career. She's also very hard on herself and gets upset when she messes up with anything. Like spilling food or having trouble with a jacket zipper, we talk a lot about feelings, and I encourage her to do things that put her feelings into words instead of having a tantrum and taking deep breaths. I know that you value a great work ethic as well as a self-compassion, and it's hard for adults to balance the two, even harder for kids. What advice do you have for encouraging a child to learn and get better at the things with practice without pushing them so hard that it backfires and makes them hard on themselves? Thanks for your thoughts, or thanks for any thoughts that you can share on this. I'm rooting for you to have all the success you want inside and outside of the octagon. I'll see you at the top, Brian. Man, Brian, you are throwing in some nuggets there. You are obviously a great dad. You obviously care just by asking this question, just by giving us a little bit of insight into how you are parenting your daughter who is 4 years old, just by giving us a little bit of insight. You got a lot of wisdom, man. You do. You got a lot of wisdom. And I think just as I said in the last question or two, we're just figuring it out. Brian, you're just figuring it out, man. This parenting thing is by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. It's the most beautiful, it's the most blissful, it's the most rewarding, but it is the most challenging thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. And the problem with it, I think, is it's constantly a moving target. Anybody out there who's got any one of a million vocations or jobs or careers, they kind of are changing here and there, different seasons, maybe different promotions, maybe job or, company switches, department switches. But for the most part, there's a lot of predictability, I think, and it really doesn't matter that much if you fail. You fail as a parent, that to me is the ultimate failure. Failing as a father, that to me is one of the ultimate failures. So I get, because I put that kind of pressure on myself, Brian, I get where you're at. And I find myself, what was it, 2 days ago, laying my head on the pillow, and Bree could tell there was something bothering me, and Hap was having a tough day. He's 6 years old. He's going through stuff. He's got sports camps and stuff. He's in summer right now. My schedule's been crazy. I've been traveling. So we can do a very good job of pointing out all the ways that we're failing. We can do a very good job of pointing out the laundry list of ways that we are falling short. But ultimately, do you care? Do you show up? And do they feel loved, protected, and taken care of? Do they feel loved, protected, and taken care of? Those are the most important things about parenting. And Brian, it sounds like you are giving that to your daughter in droves. It sounds like, even you being cognizant of the way that our children fall short or they fail or as they're working through things. For me right now, it was, obviously before a couple of years ago, it was potty training. And then now it's kind of, as you mentioned, getting zippers on a jacket, tying their shoes. My son Hap still is very, very struggling a lot with tying his shoes. It's really hard. And of course it is. We take it for granted as adults. We can do it with our eyes closed. I could tie any shoe on the entire planet with my eyes closed. But for a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, that's like a brand new thing, and it's very hard. So that comes with frustration. So how do you make sure that your child isn't a perfectionist and kind of starts getting OCD tendencies? Number one, I don't know that answer, but I do know that leading with love is probably the most important thing that you can do. Leading with love, leading with patience, and being a good communicator, and telling them that you struggled with that. I make stuff up all the time. When Hap's having trouble with this, well, buddy, when I was your age, I was having trouble with that too. Buddy, when I was your age, man, I struggled with that too, and it was very frustrating. And I think we can have these quick little conversations that maybe it looks like it goes in one ear and out the other. It goes over his head. He wasn't even listening, but subconsciously he's listening. Subconsciously, you just gave him a little bit more confidence because you, Brian, me, we are superheroes to our kids. And if us as the superheroes, the parents, the Mount Rushmore of who they believe in life, if we were struggling with the same things that they were struggling, if we can admit to them, whether it's a little white lie or not here and there, I'm not going to lie, it's all a big psychological battle. But if it's a psychological battle and it's a little white lie and it makes them better, then I think it's a great tactic. You say you talk a lot about your feelings. You encourage her to do things that put her feelings into words instead of having tantrums. I think that right there was probably one of the biggest things that resonated with me about your question today. Getting them to verbalize their feelings, and also, even more importantly, not just getting them to verbalize it, not just forcing them to or bribing them to, coercing them to, but having them, creating an environment for them where they feel safe verbalizing their feelings. That's one thing we've always tried to do, with our son Hap. Obviously, we have two sons, Ace, but he's 1 year old, so 1 year old, a little over 1 year old. So we'll get into that as he ages a little bit. But with Hap, it's always been creating a safe space where no matter what, you can talk to mommy and dad about anything. Something's bothering you, something upsets you, something angers you, or something makes you extremely happy. You're really proud of something, or you're curious about something. This is a safe place, and anything you talk to us about is just between us. I just got this tattoo on my arm. A lot of people wonder, oh man, why do you put a triangle on his arm? Just got a little triangle on my little wrist here. We call it the perfect triangle. And that's what we always called our family. When it was me, Bree, and Hap, we were the perfect triangle. Obviously, three of us, Bree, me, Hap, triangle. And now we have our son Ace, but we're still the perfect triangle. Because Hap said that. He said, no, we're still the perfect triangle. We're not a square. We're a perfect triangle. And then he'll put 4 little people inside of the triangle now instead of just a perfect triangle. So perfect triangle means a lot to me. But I say that because creating that safe space where you say, hey, underneath this roof and between these 4 walls and here in your bed or here in the living room or here at the dinner table, wherever we're at, this is a safe place. And you can verbalize your feelings, because just like them, because parenting really is a metaphor for life and human beings. Yeah, your daughter's 4 years old, but if she holds in those thoughts, she holds in those words that she needs to get out, just like you, they're going to harbor resentment. They're going to put bad seeds in their heart and their soul. So you're on the right track, Brian. I love it. But the advice for encouraging a child to learn to get better at things with practice and without pushing them so hard that it backfires. Man, that's just sometimes saying nothing is the best thing that you can say. Sometimes saying nothing shows more love than telling them I love you. Sometimes being with them in their feelings, sometimes just holding them and hugging them in moments of frustration. Right now, Hap's in sports, doing a lot of sports camps, about to start. He's doing flag football now. He'll start basketball and baseball and flag football on a team this fall. And one of the things that I love about this is even though I am a professional athlete, been basically doing nothing but sports since I was 14 years old, had dozens and dozens of coaches. Um, it gives me an opportunity to be just a dad, even though I might know more about mindset, mentality, training, nutrition, maybe even the sport that these coaches are coaching. Maybe I know more than them, but it gives me an opportunity to just sit back and not do anything and just be dad. And that for me, I was nervous about, but I think I'm handling it pretty darn well. So, Brian, thank you so much for your question. Your daughter is very lucky and blessed to have you because I love these kind of questions. And any parent out there taking moments to lead with love, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just realize that you're only just figuring it out, and you may never have it figured out because by the time you figure out this 6-year-old season, that 7-year-old season is going to come, and you're going to have to start over anew, start over fresh. Still same foundation, but start over fresh. So thank you, Brian. Great question. And as I said, your daughter is very lucky to have you. Next question comes from Ivan. Hi, my name is Ivan. You are a real role model for me. I've been seeing your podcast and I took the courage to speak, and it hasn't been easy. I am unemployed and have been suffering through depression and anxiety. I am 4'11", which has been a big complex for myself. But thanks to you, I've been doing MMA for 6 months. I fell in love with the sport, getting in the gym, just trying to fix my whole life in which this has helped me. But sometimes I wake up on quitting. But my question is, what motivates Iron Mike to strive forward, and how can I keep that inner motivation, inner fire to keep going and not quit? God bless you, Ivan. Well, thank you for the kind words, and yes, I am very happy that you have decided to get into mixed martial arts. I think pursuing anything physical, whether it be just training and fitness or mixed martial arts or any kind of sports training, any of those decisions are always going to increase confidence. Even if you go to the MMA gym and, as I said in that very first question, you get demolished the first week, embarrassed the second week, bludgeoned the third week, eventually, if you keep sticking to it, eventually you will see the hard work pay off. You just have to still be standing there to receive it when it does. So Ivan being 4'11", obviously that's been a big complex for you, you say. I was a small guy from a small town who was taught to do little things, man. I was right there with you. You are beautifully, fearfully, and wonderfully made. You were made exactly the way that you were supposed to be. Your attributes, your stature, your gifts, your talents, all of those things are to be cultivated and brought to the world. Some of the most influential people on the planet in history have not been huge people, have not been tall people. Matter of fact, have been smaller, on the smaller side of the average. Your stature does not determine your success or the amount of impact that you can make. And I'm talking to myself here because I had to go through that. I had to really deal with that. I was the smallest guy in high school, didn't have hair in my armpits till I was 18. Girls thought I was cute, but they thought I was cute like their little brother, not cute like I want to date you. All stuff I had to go through. I was a late bloomer, so to speak. So Ivan, I went through a lot of those things. It doesn't say how old you are here, but say you're unemployed and you've been suffering through the depression and anxiety. And to me, those small victories that you can have every single day, set them up for yourself. Even if it's just making a list of making your bed, brushing your teeth, doing your laundry, keeping a clean room, becoming more organized, cultivating relationships, these small victories that really don't cost anything. They don't really take a lot of time. Things that we take for granted, things that we just think are going through the motion for our day. Those are all small victories. Those are small little wins that you can get. So if you start having a mindset shift, a perspective shift, that you can create the life that you want. It's just going to have to be built brick by boring brick. And once again, this goes out to Ivan, but everyone else listening, because we have a recurring theme here talking about depression and anxiety. Ivan, go to Amazon.com right now and type in "As a Man Thinketh," James Allen. And that's not just Ivan, that is every single person out there listening. I believe it's the greatest book ever created by man. I believe it is 40 something, 50 something pages, and every single word, every single sentence, every single line, every single paragraph and chapter will speak directly to you. And the reason I love it is not because you're going to read the book and just feel more inspired and you're going to go out there and you're going to create a life and it's going to have a better day because you read it. Although I do think that is true. The most important thing is, Ivan, it depends on you. The Calvary isn't coming. I can't save you. Your parents can't save you. Your family can't save you. The career that you choose, the vocation that you have, the roads that you go down, the things that you accomplish, they can't save you, because all you're going to be doing is building up a more accomplished, subpar version of the person that you were created to be. It's all up to you. The wins and the losses, the successes and the failures, the growth, all of it depends on you and the work that you put in on yourself. So right now, I challenge you to wake up every single morning, write down 10 things that you're grateful for, get in your gratitude journal and just journal, just write. Whether you're writing out a prayer, whether you're writing out positive affirmations, positive visualizations, the things that you want to be, the things that you want to do, things that you want to have. Making a list, writing it down, proclaiming it, and then letting it seep into you through osmosis at a spiritual level, at a cellular level, to create the life that you want. And Ivan, you say you're unemployed, go get a job. Find a job, apply at jobs. And yes, the first 10 applications might be a big old no. Might be 10 closed doors, but get a job, because there is value in creating a paycheck for yourself. There's an identity increase by having a paycheck. Even if it's $3 an hour, even if it's odd jobs, even if it is hard labor, hard hours, not a lot of pay for the amount of work that you have to put in, at least you're creating something for yourself. Watch yourself build something with your bare hands and then reap the rewards from it. And then you see A plus B equals C. Your job and your career is not the most important thing in your life, but I do believe having something to pursue, having something to create with your hands, with your bare hands, and I'm not talking about just physical labor, but you get what I'm saying. Create something to increase your self-image. And I know it's tough. I know we might be battling anxiety and depression. I know there's days you wake up and you don't know what you're going to do. You're meandering about. Get in the gym and create a paycheck. Maybe create a paycheck at the gym. Maybe get a job at the gym that you've been training at. Immerse yourself into that community, because it obviously, you said you have fallen in love with the sport. So therefore, being around the sport, writing about the sport, studying the sport, getting a job with someone in the sport. But find a way to create a paycheck. Find a way to create value. Bring other people value. Because bringing other people value doesn't just bring them value, it brings yourself value. So Ivan, keep on keeping on. Your best days and blessed days are still out ahead of you. But create something. Wake up in the morning, create something in that journal, create something on that affirmations list and gratitude list. Start with gratitude. I believe anxiety, depression that a lot of people are going through is I don't think we have a depression or an anxiety problem as much as we have a lack of gratitude problem. I think Ivan and every single person listening right now or watching right now around the world, I think when we experience things like depression, anxiety, foggy thoughts, lack of clarity, all of those things stem from what am I thankful for? Or am I just focusing on things where I lack? Am I just focusing on that which I do not have instead of focusing on that which I do have? Because, like Ivan and a million other people listening, 8 billion people around this world, we've all got things that we can be thankful for. But it's up to us to acknowledge them. And by acknowledging them, the bad things lose their grip on us and the good things continue to start shining their light, and the light gets brighter and brighter and brighter, and that bright light shines into the darkness and the darkest places of our life, then to open up our eyes to more and more blessings and more things gravitate toward us. Thank you, Ivan. Keep on keeping on. You're the man. Next question comes from Rami. Hello, Michael. How are you? Hope you are doing fine. Since I started listening to your podcast, it also has inspired me to help people with their problems and give advice. Now I am also 16 years old myself and would also find it sick to be able to fight professionally later on. Do you have any tips for me to improve myself and prepare as best as possible to pass professionally, such as workouts, prep meals, etc.? Hope you read it. Walk on. See you at the top. Rami, well, I love that you love the podcast. I love that you listen. Hope you were getting value from it. And I also love that you yourself are helping people with problems and giving them advice. As I said in the last question or last answer, bringing people value doesn't just bring them value, it brings you value, because every time you do something for someone else, it inadvertently increases your self-worth, increases your self-image, your self-concept. The great Zig Ziglar said, you can have everything you want in life if you will just help enough other people get what they want in life. Doing things that are ROI negative, not doing things just because they might make you money or they might get you more status or they might get you more platform and they might get you in the door. Doing things for other people with nothing expected in return except for the beautiful intrinsic self-love that you're going to feel, the self-growth that you're going to feel. So Rami, you're on the right track. But as far as tips to improve yourself in a mixed martial arts career, a martial arts career professionally, get in the gym, work out, subscribe to walkonfit.com. That's my workout, my fitness app. We have all kinds of programs on there. Some of them geared towards higher level athletes and some of them geared toward anybody who's just trying to shed fat, create more muscle, get in better shape, become more happy, healthy, and hard to kill. As far as meals, lean protein and vegetables. That's what I eat. You guys know, you guys see me during training camps, especially. I use MegaFit Meals. MegaFitMeals.com is my meal prep company that I use. Obviously, it's here in the United States. They are based here in the Midwest, but they ship nationwide. Supplementation is extremely important. As I said, I just launched my stack with OIM Performance, and that will be releasing very soon. But it all comes down to how hard you work, how great you recover, how good your nutrition is, and the people that are around you. So, Rami, make sure you find a good gym, good coaches, good training partners, good mentors, and then work your face off to try to get to where you want to go. There really isn't a big secret, boys and girls. Everyone's looking for that silver bullet. Everyone's looking for the secret, the edge. There really is no secret. The secret is going to the gym and putting in the work day after day, days that you want to do it, days that you don't want to do it, and every single day in between. There is no secret. There is no shortcut. The only shortcut is not letting yourself talk yourself out of not going to the gym, not doing what you need to do. And this is a recurring theme that I talk to my son is old enough now to talk about with him is, hey, buddy, we all have things that we want to do, but it's more important to do the things that you need to do. You got to do the things that you need to do, not the things that you want to do. Do the things that you need to do with a smile on your face, with a good attitude, knowing that you're adding layers to your human, you're getting better because of it, and you're seeing through to the obligation that you've already made. So therefore, you know you can trust yourself. Increase the trust with yourself and watch your self-image flourish. Best of luck, Rami. Keep on giving people advice, keep on pouring into people, keep on serving people, because you can have everything you want in life if you will just help enough other people get what they want in life. Next question comes from Noah. Michael, hope you're doing well. I appreciate this podcast and graciously giving your time and advice. I'm a 21-year-old college student, and one thing I find that I struggle with is staying disciplined, whether it's my eating, my fitness, my studies, my relationships, or more importantly, my walk with Christ. What would be your advice to stay disciplined as well as what does a practical morning/daily routine look like in your opinion? Much appreciated, and God bless. See you at the top, Noah. Noah, great questions, man. And your struggle is a normal struggle. We all struggle with it. We'd all like to sit here and say that we are perfectly disciplined in all the most important areas of our life. You brought up eating, fitness, studies, relationship, your walk with Christ, all very important things. Obviously, as a 21-year-old college student, studies are very important. Relationships are very important. The ones that edify you, the ones that build you up, the ones that pour into you, not the ones that take away from you, not the vampires who suck the life out of you. Your walk with Christ, which is obviously very important. Eating and fitness. I'd love to say that I'm always disciplined in all of those areas, but I'd be lying to you. And I ain't here to lie to you. I'm here to level with you guys. I'm here to be 100% candid and 100% honest about how my life is, because there's weeks where I look at it, and maybe me and Connor are here in the studio and we're creating all kinds of content, and we're working on the fitness app, and we got the YouTube blowing up, and we got the Tough 31 reaction show, and we're doing a really great job over here at Michael Chandler Media. But Michael Chandler, the athlete, didn't do his workouts. Michael Chandler, the athlete, hasn't gotten his body work done by Steven, who works on my body, stretches me, works out the kinks. Michael, the athlete, hasn't been on his roller in a week or two. Michael, the athlete, regrettably forgot his supplements for a 2-day trip and didn't take his supplements for 2 days. These shortcomings are okay. We're not called to be perfect. We're called to be successful. But the specific question is, you struggle with staying disciplined. So what would be your advice to stay disciplined? Number one, if you truly want to be great, striving to be as close to what most would perceive as doing things right, going above and beyond, striving for that, being someone that someone wants to follow in any aspect of life, that's what we have to focus on. And it's okay to be a little bit hard on yourself. I've been very hard on myself whenever I know I'm skipping my workouts because I've focused on other things, or I might be a little bit hard on myself when I forgot my supplements, or I might be a little bit hard on myself whenever X, Y, Z, whatever it may be. It's okay to have a little bit of that. Give yourself a minute or two to say, you know what, Michael? Bam, smack yourself on the wrist. Say, be better, dude. It's okay. Because we need to hold ourselves accountable, but only for a short period of time. Then it's okay. I can't change the mistake that I made. I can't change the lack of discipline that I've had. I can't change that. All I can do is not let it happen again. Acknowledge it. Slap yourself on the wrist. You're still a great person. You're still a winner, even if you lost, quote unquote, lost in that scenario of being undisciplined with your studies or your relationships, your eating, or your fitness. There's going to be times and moments of weakness. You are just human. Realize that you are just a human. You're not a superhero. You're not perfect. So give up the facade that you will have perfect balance and you will be perfect in all of these different areas that are important to you. I talk about the 40-year-old me a lot, or future me a lot, when I talk about why I made the decision to leave Bellator and go to the UFC. I thought about the the older version of myself not being able to sleep at night and my pillow feeling like a 40-pound rough cinder block because I wasn't going to be able to sleep at night because I knew that I might have passed up on an opportunity, or I didn't give myself permission to throw myself out there. Even if I failed while daring greatly. So Noah, even at 21 years old, envision your 30-year-old self, your 40-year-old self, envision a version of you in the future that didn't accomplish the things that he wanted to accomplish, doesn't feel the contentment and the peace and the joy that he wanted to feel. Envision that person. Label that person even a failure if you want to in your mind, and say, okay, what can I do to not become that person? Let that person motivate you. Let the 40-year-old you, down on his luck, depressed, anxious, feeling lack, scarcity, not living an abundant life, let him motivate you. Because yes, ultimately, life is a series of choices and decisions, and your choices and decisions can lead you toward a road that you don't want to go down and a version of yourself that you don't want to become. Now, it doesn't mean that doing one thing today that you regret, or having a failure here or a failure there, or a shortcoming here, or a lack of discipline here or there, is going to lead to that. It's the acknowledgement that you need to get better and not let those things happen again that will most assuredly lead you toward the version of yourself that you want to become. So let him, the future you, the quote unquote failure you, the older you, motivate you to be more disciplined. And what does my morning routine look like? I like to wake up. First thing I do, chug 32 ounces of ice cold electrolyte water, drink my coffee, sit down, read my 2 devotionals. One of them is Jesus Forever. And one of them is the Daily Stoic. And then I get in my journal and I write down things that I'm thankful for, or I just sit there and write a page or two of life. Sometimes it's affirmations, sometimes it's gratitude, sometimes I'm basically just writing out a prayer. Thank you, Jesus, for this. Thank you, Lord, for that. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Thank you that this is going to happen. Thank you that this did not happen. Thank you that this bad thing happened, but a good thing came from it. So therefore it was a blessing. And for me, I got my 2 boys and my wife, love them all. They are the lights of my life, but I want to wake up and be in control of my life. So if I can get even just 30 minutes of quiet time in the morning by myself, it really sets my day off on the right foot. So no, I encourage you to do that. And I encourage everyone listening right now, give yourself a few minutes in the morning, a little bit of me time. All right. We got 2 more questions left here. All right. Next one comes from Jordan. Hey, Michael, huge fan and love that you're a believer who shares your faith and wisdom. I resonate with a lot of what you talk about. I first heard you on the Cameron Haynes podcast and started listening to your podcast, Walk on Wisdom. I'm 27 years old, and I do believe I need a solid mentor in my life right now. What's the best way to find a mentor, and who will actually be all in? Thanks for taking the time to read my question. God bless. See you at the top, Jordan. Jordan, well, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for listening to my episode with Cameron Haynes. Jordan is referring to the Keep Hammering Collective, Cameron Haynes. If you guys don't know who Cameron Haynes is, immediately look him up and follow him. He is an awesome human being. He lifts weights, he runs every day, and he shoots his bow, and he hunts, and he's just a absolute stud. I mean, there's a laundry list of things that he is. But thank you for listening to that, Jordan. So everyone does need a mentor. Everyone needs people in their life that are going to make them feel better when they get with them. It could be a friend who you guys are very, very similar, and you guys are kind of going through things. You kind of that linear mentor. I actually just told my wife today. I was like, man, I need to call Clay. Clay's a great buddy of mine. I look at Clay. He's a little bit older than me, so he's not really. I wouldn't call him a mentor, but there's those friends where our goals are the same, So I call it a linear mentor. Sometimes I'm making him feel better about himself, helping him with his life when we're talking. Sometimes he's doing that to me. Um, but when it comes to those kind of relationships, you want to have as many of those as you possibly can, because that's friends you can have fun with, kick back with. You trust them. You trust their morals, their ethics, their character, and you just like being around them. And then you got the people that are a little bit older than you, who are a little bit longer in the teeth, who have a little bit more wisdom than you, who have been there, done that, got the T-shirt, been there, done that, gone through the struggles. Those kind of people are some of the most important people in life. And you can pay for them. There's a lot of mentors out there that you can join their mastermind, or you can pay them for one-on-one coaching. And that is all fine and dandy, because I do believe that you can make a lot of investments in your life, but investments in yourself to create a life that you want, to become a better father, better mother, better sister, better brother, better business owner, better athlete, just better human being. That investment that you make is extremely important. And for every dollar that you spend, you could get $1,000 back in your pocket, whether it be actual physical dollars from your mentors or your business mentor, or actual money in the quote unquote bank of your heart and your mind and your soul, because ultimately God created us for community, and he created us to serve one another. But the best way to find a mentor that you are not going to, pay for and do the one-on-one coaching thing, is reaching out to people, creating relationships with people. And sometimes you can find these people in the most odd and interesting of places. You never know. I live here in Nashville, Tennessee. I probably got people on my phone right now that I haven't spent enough time with, that I could glean a lot of information with, and have an awesome, he's a little bit older than me, mentor, mentee type of relationship. So it's all about surrounding yourself with the best people possible, putting yourself into scenarios and situations and rooms and communities where there's people that are at your same level or above. The old quote, never be the smartest person in the room. Surround yourself with people that know a lot more than you, been through more than you. So that question, Jordan, is a hard one to answer, not knowing, where you are at. But those are a couple of the ways where you can find a mentor. Pay for that one-on-one coaching, and maybe it turns into a relationship where you continue to pay them, but you spend more and more time together. And if a person like that is anything like me, most likely I would under promise and over deliver, and I would end up giving you more time than you quote unquote paid for, spending more time with you, or going above and beyond, or making more connections than you quote unquote paid for, if you will. Um, but the biggest thing in finding a mentor is finding somebody that you'd love to, maybe you don't want to be exactly like them, but as a whole, most of what they do, most of what they have, most of who they be, most of the attributes and aspects of their life are very similar to those that you want to have. That's what I've always done. I've always said, well, I really like this guy because, family, faith, business, he's wealthy, he's been through it. I can learn a lot from this. I can learn a lot from that. Even just by being around him makes me want to be a better dad. Just being around him makes me want to be a better businessman. Just being around him makes me want to be a happier, more of service type of human being. Those people are all over the place these days. Now, I will say there's a lot of fakers and phonies out there. So, a lot of people out there who are creating these life coaching, one-on-one coaching type of businesses and scenarios that just make sure whoever you pick or look for has actually accomplished and done exactly what you want to do. Maybe not exactly what you want to do, but whatever business that you are in, make sure they have done that or done something similar. A lot of business coaches out there who have never ran a business. A lot of fitness coaches out there who are kind of just not that great at it. A lot of mentors or coaches out there who haven't really been there and done that. I'm not here to throw shade at anybody, but we live in a world where anybody can hop on their phone and claim they are who you want them to be. They claim that they are this or they are that, and it's just not true sometimes. But Jordan, thank you so much for listening. Don't know if I gave you a ton of wisdom in that, but hopefully that spoke to you and a couple other people on here. Next question comes from Colby. Oh man, look at this. We're going worldwide. Hey, Mike. Hopefully you remember me. My name is Colby and I am from Sydney, Australia. I recently had a one-on-one video conversation with you and I would just like to say thank you for taking the time to talk to me and answer my questions. I can't express how much it meant to me and how excited I was to talk to you, as you are one of my all-time heroes. So thank you again for so much for that opportunity. I also want to extend my gratitude towards you for the Walk On Fitness program you developed. I have been using it consistently for the last few months, and it has definitely transformed me into a happier, healthier, and harder to kill version of myself. Let's go, Kobe. My question is, how do I overcome my own mental barricades in regards to training? I aspire to become a professional mixed martial artist like yourself, and I truly believe I can do it, but I frequently let my mind get ridden with doubts before training sessions. I have always found myself getting extremely nervous before training sessions, especially sparring, and often question why I think I deserve all the success I dream of. Have you ever had similar doubts, and how do you consistently overcome them? Thank you so much for your time. I will see you at the top. Man, Colby from Australia. We had New Zealand earlier. Now we got Australia. This is great, man. You guys are blowing my mind, man. It's so cool. But Colby, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for being a part of our Walk On Fitness program. It is growing and bringing a lot of people like yourself value. The question is, how do you overcome mental barricades in regards to training? How do you stop being nervous before a sparring session? How do you stop having doubts? How do you stop thinking that you maybe don't deserve the success that you dream of? Well, the answer is, well, you never will be able to fully rid yourself of it. What if the answer is, hey, Colby, I've been doing this now for 22 years, hand-to-hand combat, wrestling, and now fighting. And I still get nervous before sparring sessions sometimes. I still get nervous before hard training sessions. I still get nervous before hard workouts. Heck, this morning, I was not feeling it. I was not into it. So I wouldn't call it nervous, but I definitely wasn't motivated / pumped up, excited to be there. And I'm a guy who gets paid to do this. I'm a guy who gets paid a great living for my family, to provide for them, to build this body into happier, healthier, and harder to kill so I can go out there and compete. It is my job. It is my profession. And there's still days that I'm nervous. Pretty darn good at it. Pretty darn good at fighting. There's still days that I get nervous when I'm sparring. Still days that I don't want to go. Still days that I don't want to be there. Still days that I wish I could just hit snooze and lay in bed and cuddle with my son all day and watch TV. So one thing is, Colby, make sure you pat yourself on the back for the growth that you have had. One very good, I think, mental trick, and I stole this from a book. I talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast years ago. I stole this from a book called Mind Gym by Gary Mack. And he talks about a mental highlight reel. Just like you can go on YouTube right now and type in, Kobe Bryant highlights. Type in Michael Jordan highlights. You can type in Michael Chandler MMA highlights, right? You're gonna find a compilation of 25 different videos of me just smashing people and me suplexing people and knocking people out, choking them out. Compilation of Michael Jordan and Kobe draining 3-pointers at the buzzer and dunking on people. Create for yourself a mental highlight reel. Take out a sheet of paper and write down every single time that you felt accomplished, you felt like a winner, you felt like you overperformed your perception of what you were able to do. You were in your flow state. You did it. You created it. You had your doubts. You had your fears, but you did it. Could be 10 things, could be 5 things, could be 20 things. I recommend at least 10 things. And you can cross those things off as new ones come. But the ones the ones that have really made you feel, the times in your life where you really felt like a winner, time you really felt like the best version of yourself. Write those things down and read them off one by one. Okay. The time my senior year at the Hearn Center on senior night where I major decisioned this guy and our last couple matches went into overtime. That's one thing on my mental highlight reel. And this is from 15, 20 years ago now at this point. But it was still one of those moments where I can think back to, I can close my eyes, I can look around, I can see the Hearn Center. I can see the mat. I can look down and see my singlet. I can look over and see my coaches in the corner, see my team watching me on. I can look across the mat at one of my rivals, a guy who I said who either went into overtime or just barely won, or I had lost to him, beat him. And this was my moment to go out there and win on senior night. And I did so well, so much better than I ever had in any of those other matches. That for me is an anchor moment in my life, an anchor moment in my mental highlight reel. Beating Eddie Alvarez back in 2011 when nobody gave me a chance to beat him. And then I became world champion in Bellator, number 5 in the world. Going back to that and visualizing that, and then go down the list. Number 3, number 4, number 5. And every single time, don't just read it out loud, and then close your eyes and visualize. Give yourself 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds of visualizing what that felt like. What were the feelings? What were the emotions? What was the sense of pride? What was the smile? What was the joy? What was the different aspects of it that made you feel great? Make that list. Look at it. When you got a sparring day, let's say you're sparring 2 days a week, do your mental highlight reel, read it out and visualize and revisit all of those times right before that sparring session, or, an hour before, whatever time it is. Maybe first thing in the morning, and then maybe revisit it quickly right before practice, right before a hard sparring session. That's one tangible piece of advice. And this doesn't just go for Colby out there in Australia who is pursuing a mixed martial arts career. This goes for anybody. This goes for anybody in any walk of life, any vocation. Doesn't have to be physical, doesn't have to be competition, doesn't have to be any certain aspect, any time in your life. Now I think times on my mental highlight reel are things with my family. Times that I felt like a phenomenal father or a phenomenal husband. New business opportunities or ventures. This year has brought about so many different great opportunities. Maybe it's an awesome conversation that I had with somebody that I never thought would have been a fan of mine. And I was absolutely just blown away by that conversation. I can close my eyes. I can see that conversation. I'm looking at somebody that I've looked up to for decades, who's a very well-known celebrity. And I can add that to my mental highlight reel. And in that moment, my brain remembers it more, which then increases my self-image, increases my self-concept, doing all kinds of physical things inside of my body with endorphins and all of that stuff just by going back and remembering it. Because we don't do a good enough job of accomplishing something and patting ourselves on the back. Take stock in, take pride in those times that you have overcome the odds, you have performed where you didn't know that you could, and you were the best version of yourself. Remembering those things, reciting those things, rehearsing those things, taking a moment to smell the roses and pat yourself on the back. So that's my very tangible advice to you and to everybody out there. Get yourself a mental highlight reel, because it's okay to love yourself. It's okay to be proud of yourself. It's okay to remember the things that you have done. Because we all say, hey, don't rest on your coattails, because there's still work to be done. Yeah, I get it. But don't forget the things that you've accomplished, because by forgetting the things that you've accomplished and not rehearsing them or revisiting them, you got a lot of ammo for your self-image that you could be using. And it's all right there in your memory bank. All those core memories right there, but write them down so you can rehearse them and visualize them. So that's my advice to you. But as far as the second part of the question is, getting nervous and then questioning why you think you deserve all the success that you dream of, that would be another part of that. Reminding yourself all the times that you have been successful, reminding yourself it's hard to just sit here and say, I deserve success without also revisiting the evidence of why you do, the evidence that you do. So by having that mental highlight reel in your notebook, maybe it's in your phone, in your notes tab, maybe it's typed out on a sheet of paper, wherever it is, revisit it. And then you will see yourself and find yourself becoming more and more okay with and accepting of the success that you dream of. Because yes, the answer to that, your question, have you ever had similar doubts? Absolutely. And how do you consistently overcome them? Well, I don't always overcome them. There's days that I fall short, and there's days that I'm nervous, and there's days that I underperform because of said nerves. But yes, the answer is yes, I've had similar doubts. And to have doubts, to have fears and insecurities is to be human. And if there's anybody out there acting like that doesn't make you a tough person, you're a weak person by admitting that you have doubts and fears, well, to each his own, I guess. But I'm here telling you, I'm standing here 10 toes down, very proud of myself, proud of the life that I have built, proud of the man that I am. Not perfect and get better in a lot of ways, but I'm very proud of who I am and what I've done and what I've accomplished and how I try to operate in my life. But it doesn't mean there's not days that I don't feel like a failure. There's not days that I don't get nervous. There's not days that don't have some stinking thinking and expect bad things to happen and instead of expecting good things to happen. But that's why motivation is like showering. It wears off. It's recommended daily, but it wears off. And I don't like to use the word motivation because we've taken the word motivation and we've somewhat bastardized it and we've somewhat made it into what it shouldn't be. Motivation comes from building a life that you've always dreamed of by small, consistent, brick by boring brick building of disciplines and creating trust within yourself and trust with other people and adding value to people, scenarios, places, things, being a person of value. So, Colby from Australia, I hope this helps you and best of luck with your training. Get in your mental highlight reel, rehearse those things a couple times a week, and definitely do them before you're sparring. Definitely do them before those hard practices. So, that was our last question for the day, man. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you can find these little nuggets from your other listeners out there who are sending them in. I hope you're finding little nuggets of wisdom. As I said, I'm an expert at absolutely nothing, but been around the world a couple of times and struggle with a lot of the same stuff y'all struggle with because I'm a human being just like you. I know we like to act like us mixed martial arts fighters or modern day gladiators and superheroes. Just a bunch of humans. Just a bunch of humans trying to do superhuman things or perceived superhuman things. But we struggle with a lot of the same stuff y'all do. So thank you guys so much. We got a ton of questions that are still in the docket. So we will continue to keep on pumping out these walk-on wisdoms weekly. And we'll keep doing it as long as you guys keep listening, as long as the community keeps growing, which it is, as long as you guys keep on leaving your reviews and leaving your 5 stars and getting your listens and downloads and sharing it with people. I hate asking people for things, but I hear my friends do it all the time, who have very successful podcasts. My goal here is to add value and add wisdom to the masses. So I don't think I'm out of line by saying, hey, share this with somebody today. It ain't that hard to hit the copy and paste and share it to somebody, send it to somebody and say, hey, whether you are pursuing a mixed martial arts career, whether you're just someone's in a funk, someone's struggling with depression, anxiety, some of the things that we talked about today. If you think that mental highlight reel can help somebody, maybe you're a parent and you got a child who's in athletics or a child who is struggling with self-image, share it with them. Share it with them. Leave 5 stars, leave a review, man. We're going to continue to grow. Y'all are so awesome. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. It's a very humbling experience. So I love you guys. Have a phenomenal, phenomenal day because you deserve it. God bless. We'll see you at the top.